$1,500,000 for the remaining balance of the Consolidated Healthcare Center. If you remember, year before last, we requested $45 million for the Consolidated Healthcare Center, which will add 42 beds to Halawa Healthcare Unit, including suicide safety beds and mental health beds, and regular infirmary beds. We received $22.5 million last year. We went in and asked for the other $22.5 million plus what we estimated to be the construction escalation costs, hence the $28.5 million. So we requested that. We do have the $22.5 from last year. We requested the $28.5 to give us. We received $22.5 million. We requested $5 million for planning and design and expansion of the operation to accommodate the new females coming from OCCC to WCCC. So I don't know why that money wasn't put in initially when the initial request was made for the funding for all of the construction work we just completed at WCCC. I imagine it was because it may have been seen as cost prohibitive at the time. So we're requesting the money to planning and design. We will begin moving the female offenders from OCCC to women's within the next few weeks, and we will be moving them all will be moved by the end of December. For security reasons, we will not provide information on the exact dates of the transitions or the number of detainees being moved from OCCC to women's, but we will be done by the end of December.
Was there a question, Commissioner?
Yes, I had a question, Tommy, about the $28 million for the Consolidated Healthcare Center at Halawa.
Yes.
What is the take down the old jail and replace it? Where would you put this?
Okay, on the side, on the back side, on the right side of Halawa, where you had that big open space,
yes,
where they use for storage.
Uh-huh.
That's like 2 to 3 stories tall. It will go there and attach to the current healthcare unit and build out and down.
Oh, okay. And is there any intent to take down the old jail since it's not being used anymore?
I can't hear you.
Is there any intent to take down the old jail because it's not being used anymore?
The special needs facility you're talking about?
Yes.
We closed it temporarily to find out if we could, if it was worth saving, so to speak, right? So we will have an update on that in the next 2 months, what we plan to do with that. Right now, before I say anything publicly, we have notifications we have to make to certain entities, and then I can probably provide an update next month or the month after for sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so we requested $4 million in reoccurring funding, permanent funding for reentry services to connect offenders with community-based services, so we can do the warm handoff to the community-based services. With that, we also asked for $1.9 million for an offender apprenticeship program with the unions, where we would pay the offenders to participate in apprenticeship programs with the unions. We would buy the initial safety equipment they need, the boots, the safety belt, goggles, those kind of things. And then the unions would agree to train them in an apprenticeship program, make them a part of the union's membership, and then work with them to have employment on scheduled jobs for the union. That is a big, tall ask, so I don't know if we'll get it, but it is worthwhile to try to ask, because if we can provide a living wage for the offenders while they're in the program, and that money is being saved when they come up for parole and go through work furlough, hopefully they'll already have a job, they'll be done with the apprenticeship program, and they'll have money saved up. And so we may have better outcomes with respect to recidivism. We asked for $200 million go ahead.
Which unions are you talking about? The carpenters union? What other unions?
We had discussions with several unions, so this would be a pilot program. We would try to do with 1 or 2 of the unions so far. We haven't gotten to the point with any particular union where we've discussed numbers, what we would pay them, how long it would take to get through the program yet. But we have met with some of the unions preliminarily, so we're asking for the money so we can flush out the plan. We do anticipate, though, that we would work with at least 2 unions, and this would be based on what are the upcoming large projects that the union foresee coming down the pike, where they're going to need assistance with new employees, where they can train the inmates so that the inmates can get the training they need and go out on furlough and then extended furlough and be fully employed at that point. So we're gonna leave it to the unions to tell us which tradescraft that they need, because they know the huge programs coming down the pike, like, UH's Aloha Stadium would be a huge project. OCCC would be a huge project, but there are other projects out there too. If you have some suggestions, or the commission have some suggestions, we'll be willing to take them and then contact those unions as well.
Tommy, in the past, and this is going back quite a ways, but the electrical union used to work with our inmates and allow them to do their initial work with the prison system. But
Okay,
I'm thinking back like 30 years ago, but it was a good partnership. And
okay.
the department had to have a supervisor that was a member of the electrical union for it to work.
Okay, we already have one agreement with the Carpenters Union on a different initiative, so they would certainly be under consideration too, but I wrote that down, so we'll be contacting them as well, Martha. Thank you. We requested $200,000 reoccurring funding to assist inmates with successful reintegration. So if you remember, HPA would request gate money, which would be up to $200 to provide for the inmates' immediate needs. They never get the funding. So we're requesting the funding to supplement that, to help them provide that to the offenders going out the door. We requested $147,173 for 3 new positions for the Reentry Coordination Office. Right now, that office only has the Reentry Coordination Officer, 2 Corrections Program Specialists, and 1 Secretary 1. That's not enough staff to build out our reentry efforts that we're trying to do. So we're requesting 3 positions there. We're requesting 20 new case manager positions for the facility, 6 for Halava, 4 for women's, 3 for OCCC, 3 for MCCC, 2 for HCCC, 1 for KCCC, 1 for Waiava, and 1 for Kulani. That is in anticipation of reducing the caseloads for those case managers so that they can really do reintegrated case management, and so that they can help the reentry office with the needs of the offender from when they come in for the assessment process, to help with any documentation we need to get done, and to help with the warm handoff into the community for case management services once they get out. That's going to be a long shot, to be honest with you, because that is a big ask of the legislature for the 3 positions and the 20 positions. That's a big ask, but we're not going to know unless we ask, right? So those are the highlights of our budget. We asked for other standard things, regular CIP requests of $10 million. We asked for $10 million for our, $8 million to redo the master plan, which is the last one was done in 2003, I think. We asked for $3 million for renovations and upgrades at the Maui Community Correctional Center, $5 million for repairs and deferred maintenance in both fiscal years, $23 million in both fiscal years for general administration lump sum CIP, $7 million for architectural removal, and so we can comply with ADA compliance measures, and $20 million for statewide security perimeter fencing. As you know, the Maui fence is pretty bad. The Halava fence is really falling apart on the back. The estimate we got for the Halava fence was $18 million for that project alone. That fencing, the cyclone fencing, was put up originally, as you know, when the facility was built in 1985. So it's really bad off. There is some fencing issues too in the back of the Women's Community Correctional Center, but they're not as bad as Halava and certainly not as bad as the Maui. Those are the highlights of our budget. Again, we don't know what we're gonna get. We only know what we asked for. We had 50 positions, vacant positions that were on the chopping block. So we requested from Budget and Finance to do trade-offs with some existing funding elsewhere so they don't delete those positions. Of those 50 positions, let me take a look at my notes here. 14 are actually filled. 25 are in recruitment. And the other balance, we have some emergency hires in, but they will show as, the Budget and Finance still show as vacant, which means those positions too are actually in active recruitment. So we're trying to do the trade-off so we don't lose any of those positions. Some of those are ACO positions. We do have some positive highlights in that in 2023, we put 56 recruits through classes to get them on the floor. As of now, 2024, we put 114 recruits through on the floor, and we have another 22 that are graduating later this month. That will be for a total of 134, as opposed to 56 last year, because we held 6 classes this year. We plan to hold 6 classes moving forward. We have to keep up with our attrition rate. We simply weren't keeping up with the attrition rate. Our ACO vacancy rate has gone down from 30.9% last year to 24%. That's still too high, but that's better than some of the jurisdictions around the country. I think by holding the 6 classes a year, and by also, we did a cost benefit analysis. If we have more than 6 neighbor island recruits, we can take the academy to them, and that's what we plan to do. So we've purchased the COPAD equipment for the correctional officer physical agility testing, and that's being delivered to all the facilities on the neighbor islands so that we can take the academy to them and do everything we need at those facilities. We had a number of applicants who were younger, who had small children who didn't want to come here, could be put up at the Pagoda Hotel for 8 to 11 weeks. And so we came up with the idea that if it's fiscally responsible, where's that break-even point? So if we have 6 or more, we'll take the academy to them and we'll just fly the instructors home every week. We haven't had enough yet, but that's out there as an option if we do have 6 neighbor island applicants. That way they can go home at the end of each day and be with their families. I think that's where we stand so far.
Tommy, in the budget, you know that we will be very supportive of you for the case management positions, the reentry office, and other things that will help support our ACOs, get you more that you need. Hopefully pay will go up. I know that you're fighting for that also, but know that you will have our support with anything related to reentry and programs in the correctional facility and assisting our ACOs to have a safe and secure job.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I can go down some initiatives we talked to DHERD about if you guys have a minute. A couple of things. One, of course, I support the substantial pay raises for the corrections officers. $64,200 is what they make now. And that is not enough if you have a family to even buy a home or an apartment here in Hawaii. I also provided some proposals to the director of DHERD with respect to looking at hiring bonuses for correctional officers where they receive half of the bonus. Now, no monetary money was attached to the bonus to the proposal at this point. That would be something that the Office of Collective Bargaining and DHERD director would have to discuss. But one of the proposals was that half of a hiring bonus would be given to the corrections officers within 30 days of completing the academy and reporting to their assigned facility. The other half would be provided to them once they completed the initial probationary period. I recommended that we look at longevity bonuses or longevity payments for those corrections officers with 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 years of service. Providing they come to work 80% of the time, they would receive some type of monetary incentive up to 100% of the time coming to work, and that monetary incentive would go up. Again, that would be determined by the Office of Collective Bargaining. And the reason why we linked it to 80% of their regular shift is because a lot of ACOs may come in for overtime, and that shouldn't be included. It should be regular shift because that is where we have problems with some ACOs not coming in for their regular shift, calling in sick, but coming in for the next shift to work overtime. So those are issues we're trying to work on now. Another proposal I put forward, and this would strictly be internal, is that providing we had the resources through whatever vacancies we had, we would look at allowing ACOs on a first come, first served basis to turn in 2 weeks of their vacation each year, beginning in October through about the middle of November, until the resources were depleted. And this way they would have money right before Christmas to use with their families. That would be based on any kind of vacancy savings we had until they were depleted, and on a first come, first served basis. We reduced the in-academy time from 11 weeks to 8 weeks to get them on the floor sooner. And they would complete that 3 weeks of normal academy time during their probationary period in the facilities. We have also looked at picking up additional emergency hires. Like now, from the 22 people that are in the current ACO recruit class, if I'm not mistaken, 5 of them work with us as emergency hires. We're finding that those that work with us as an emergency hire, they've made the determination if they go into the academy that this is already for them, that they can do it. Unfortunately, those that don't, sometimes we lose them within 60 to 90 days of completing the academy. One, because of burnout, because there's some long hours, and let's face it, working in the correctional institution is not for everyone. But two, it sometimes working in corrections is not for that person. But we're doing what we can to try to improve the working conditions. As you know, we have old, antiquated, decrepit facilities. And so I'd appreciate the commissioners' support for our budget as it relates to, one, all the reentry efforts. Martha, I appreciate that because that's what's needed in order for us to do this paradigm shift. But also when we go in and ask for money for repair and maintenance and CIP. To give you a case in point, we may go in and ask for $10 million for CIP or $20 million, and we may get 10. The problem with that is then we play whack-a-mole with respect to the emergency maintenance that comes up. We can't have an effective preventive maintenance program if we don't have enough money. So when a chiller goes down, it's $500,000 that we have to take from another project to cover that emergency. So I'll do my best, as I have in the past, to remind the legislature that these jails and prisons run 24/7. And so it's hard on the infrastructure and all the equipment when you have to run 24/7 operations. That's all I have.
Thank you, Tommy. Any other commissioner questions?
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear, guys.
Can you hear me, Tommy?
I can hear you now, thank you.
Okay, I gotta lean forward a little bit. Where are we now? We're now on part 6, announcement of finalists for oversight coordinator position. I was hoping our chair would be here. We did review umpteen applications. We had a couple of days of interviews. How many were there, fellow commissioners?
We conducted 6 interviews.
6 interviews, my bad, yeah. 3 and 3, and very qualified people. So where are we now? Did the letter go to the governor with the 3 finalists?
All right, in accordance with section 353 L2A HRS, we're required to submit 3 names to the governor, and we did in fact submit 3 names to the governor. We conducted our interviews last week, Thursday and Friday, and delivered the letter with the 3 names to the governor on Monday. And George, has that been posted yet?
It has not been posted yet.
We're going to post the letter on our website so everybody can see the names that we forwarded to the governor.
Thank you, Martha. If there are no questions about the announcement of finalists, it will be posted. Public can learn. I will tell you that the finalists know, and so be it. Part 7, notification of new position postings with the commission. Have these been posted, George?
Yes,
Okay,
they have been
go ahead.
posted. So we just posted the reentry oversight specialist, and also the jail oversight specialist. So the reentry oversight specialist will be overseeing the entire reentry system and also the parole board in accordance to our mandate. The jail oversight specialist, I know the name gives it away, but they'll be overseeing all of our jails. So we have 4 jails in the state of Hawaii, and so that will be the focus area for this position. If you want to know any additional information about these positions, our contact information is on our website. I'd be more than happy to chat with anyone who might be interested. But otherwise, the application is open. It's on our website, and we're really looking forward to getting some fantastic individuals in those positions soon.
And the oversight commissioner, the oversight, you will make that decision. Is that your hire?
Yeah.
Yeah. That, okay. Commission budget request updates. I have that on the agenda, but I don't have anything to say about that. Somebody want to speak?
Yeah, I can
Please.
jump in. So, the commission had officially submitted its budget request. This is very similar to what the commission had submitted last year. So we requested two pay increases for the reentry oversight specialist, also the jail oversight specialist. We also requested a prison oversight specialist, 2 research and policy associates, and a clerical assistant. The clerical assistant is to help with all of the influx of complaints. Even without widely sharing our address throughout the jails and prisons, we have received hundreds of letters from people in custody. And so we really need help being able to sift through all those, make sure that they're organized, make sure that we're keeping track of everything. So that's why we asked for that clerical assistant position. We also asked for inter-island and mainland correctional facility travel, money for memberships and conferences, and then also a case management system. Some of you have been following us remember that we were working with a nonprofit company called ThoughtWorks, and they were building a case management system for us. Unfortunately, I believe in July, we found out that a new owner had bought ThoughtWorks, and the first thing that they did was they removed all of the community-focused work that ThoughtWorks was doing. And so our project came to a very sudden end. So unfortunately, I don't want to say all of that was for none. We still got a lot of work done that we can use for a paid vendor to just take on and move with it. But that's why we're requesting a case management system, again, so that we can keep all of our complaints organized. In addition to that, all of our recommendations organized. We have put out well over 50 recommendations, and it's becoming more and more difficult to keep track of what the department has taken action on or what the department hasn't. And so that'll really help us as well. Lastly, we asked for basic office operational expenses and also an inmate population limits bed utilization report consultation. And so we asked for $300,000 for a consultant to help with the part of our mandate where we have to go through and set the population limits for all of the jails and prisons. We should be hearing more about what the final budget request will be soon, and then that is what we'll be taking into the legislature. So thank you all for your continued support. We're hoping to get as much as our request as possible.
It's an important year. Commissioners, any questions of Kristen? There being none? Okay. I don't know who's in charge of the next one. Presentation by University of Hawaii Community Design Center. An alternative model for rehabilitation and restorative justice. Who's going to handle that?
Yeah, I asked Kathy Hoshar from UHCDC and her team.
I see her.
Yep, to do a presentation. For those of you who are not aware, Kathy has done a beyond phenomenal job with meeting with different stakeholders and community members and people in custody to come up with a jail design. This is a project that was funded through the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation to get a better understanding of what a rehabilitative and therapeutic jail could be for the new OCCC. So with that, I'd like to introduce Kathy. Thank you so much for being here. We're excited to see what you all have been working on.
Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning. Okay, I hope the rest of my team can turn their cameras on. So we're here representing our University of Hawaii Community Design Center team. I'm joined by Krisha, Dean, Vernon, and Kaylin. Some of you have met the sort of fuller spectrum of our team. They couldn't all be here today, but we're really thankful for the invitation. Kristen, I saw your hand up. Can you hear me?
Just a caution, I've got old ears, but I'm very interested in this, and take the time so that we can understand and ask questions. Don't feel any need for you or your wonderful team to speed through this. Fair enough?
All right. Yes, usually we're pressed for time. So I got your message. And we'll encourage the whole team to speak loudly, clearly, and slowly so everybody can follow. So again, thanks, Kristen, for inviting us to be here to talk with the commission and everybody on this call. We want to thank, of course, the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation for sponsoring this work. All of what we're presenting, we couldn't have accomplished without their full support. We also want to thank the Oversight Commission. You know, at the very beginning, we had the opportunity to speak with all of you one-on-one, and then had this chance to connect when we discovered that we had some alignments and overlapping interests and putting together a convening and bringing Amen to Hawaii. And since then, we've really, truly appreciated the collaboration between our team and the Oversight Commission, especially all that Kristen and Kara have done to guide and nurture our team. So today we're going to share what we presented in our third community of practice meetings. These community of practice meetings were things that were meetings that we put together to create some regular touch points with stakeholders as we continue to develop our work. As you can see, the community of practice meeting, the first one was focused on the broader mission, vision, values, and programming for a new facility. This is where we talked about our bigger picture, broader goals. The second community of practice meeting focused on design considerations and approaches. This is where we presented different conceptual and visual design approaches to the attendees. And the third meeting focused on updates from DCR and DAGs regarding the overall project timeline, consultant scopes, procurement approaches, and we presented an outline of UHCDC's final report. So that's what we're presenting here today, just the UHCDC component of that. I know there's a few of you who will be hearing this for the third time, so apologies on some of that redundancy. But with that, I will hand this over to Krisha.
Thank you. Okay, so just as a quick reminder, these are our goals, which was to engage with diverse stakeholders, research restorative justice models, consult with peer facilities, share knowledge, develop proof of concept designs for the relocate OCCC based on community feedback, and drafting a guideline document that informs the department as they develop a request for proposal or RFP for the new facility. So again, our work is separate from the longer professional planning and RFP development led by AHL, which is shown in black. UHCDC's proof of concept research, engagement, and design studies will add to this to inform DCR as they develop a request for proposal with AHL. We are the yellow circle. UHCDC is not the professional team responsible for developing the RFP for a new jail or responding to an RFP for a new jail. Our work will reflect the community perspective shared with us throughout our research and engagement process. So here's our UHCDC project schedule shown in detail here. You can see all of our major engagement events that have been conducted up until this fall, and we will be submitting our final report to DCR later this month. And so our team is going to go quickly, but also slowly, through the sections of the report that will provide you with an overview that will be included. So our report reviews what we gathered throughout these different phases of our work, including the research, engagement, synthesis, community of practice meetings, and our proof of concept approaches.
We started with various different types of literature reviews, and much of our work was informed by the correctional reform reports and studies that predate this project. And some of these works include those of the HCR 85 Task Force, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, Native Hawaiian Justice Task Force, the Correctional Reform Working Group, and SIM reports by Full Foundation and Hawaii Health and Harm Reduction Center. These are foundational to our work, as was the data that Kristen shared with us that allowed us to offer statistics surrounding the incarceration in the state. Our colleague and partner, Lorinda Riley, conducted a comprehensive scholarly literature review of articles that led to the 8 categories of alternative models listed here. Throughout our process, people discussed Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander concepts of health and well-being, which are different from Western ideas about well-being. Our report will reference the models that we have looked at diagrammed here. These informed our approaches to designing for well-being. We've also examined literature on trauma-informed design, which incorporates aspects of trauma-informed care to design a healing and safe environment for people who have experienced trauma. And we also examined Armstrong and Ginnikin's systematic literature review of correctional design features linked to well-being. These features are listed here and will be included in our report.
We started our project with a focus on systems reform, which was a call to action from the community all the way up to the governor's office. Our research recognizes the need for change across the justice, health, and housing systems in order to support the individuals who end up in jail as a catch-all. We interviewed people from 4 different counties that had engaged in adult correctional system reform or decarceration efforts. This included Miami-Dade, known for their Miami-Dade diversion system, Los Angeles County, Pima County, and Orange County. We identify key components to decarceration processes, including sequential intercept model mapping, which identifies resources, needs, and gaps. SIM mapping typically invites a large set of stakeholders to participate in this. This is already happening here. We try to bring attention to this work by inviting Nikos Leverens to speak on the work that was completed on Oahu and acknowledge the SIM efforts on other islands. The report will also include the case studies that we've been sharing about prevention, diversion, corrections, and reentry. Hopefully, some of you have seen our boards and handouts that try to bring attention to these local and national examples. We wanted to be sure to highlight the local programs that are already supporting prevention, diversion, and reentry, and recommend more support for these programs. To provide more clarity, we described a decarceration toolkit. The toolkit represents the different programs and facilities needed to provide care for people with different needs and at different places along the justice pathway. It conveys the importance of looking at all of these pieces alongside a new jail.
So most of our research centered around our engagement. And as of November 2024, UHCDC has held 120 talk stories, 18 site visits and listening workshops, 3 symposiums, 3 public exhibits, 6 co-design workshops, and 5 community of practice meetings, including this meeting today. We interacted with 45 different government offices and 107 community organizations and many dedicated individuals. This next part I'm going to go through a bit quicker because most of you have seen this before. The team visited various health centers, residential treatment facilities, and reentry and transitional housing facilities to learn and to host listening workshops. Later on in this process, UHCDC led co-design activities with the community, Makana Okeakua, Habilitat, and Hahoko, which encouraged many previously incarcerated individuals to draw and share their vision for a new facility. This is perhaps unprecedented, the inclusion of this many current and previously incarcerated individuals. Additionally, promoting public awareness was also part of our charge. We participated in events with our breaking cycles and exhibit boards to prompt conversation and knowledge sharing around justice system reform. And we also engaged with youth through interactive board games to share how the criminal justice system operates and to engage them in civic roleplay.
As y'all know, we hosted a series of Breaking Cycle Symposium speaker events to bring people together in partnership with the Oversight Commission, Correctional Reform Working Group, and the Governor's Office. The first was the Fall 2023 Symposium at YWCA Laniakea, with YWCA and Noriko Namiki and her team as our hosts. Second was the Spring 2024 Symposium update at the State Capitol, where we shared outcomes from our workshops, as well as updates from the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, Department of Health, Department of Human Services, Judiciary, Governor's Office, and community partners. And we also held the Spring 2024 Virtual Roundtable via Zoom, where we presented and discussed alternative jail programs and facilities, followed by a roundtable discussion, which Kristen participated on behalf of the Commission. We also engaged the Aya and Halava neighborhood community. We hosted a community meeting in the Aya neighborhood school cafeteria and attended 5 Aya neighborhood board meetings and 5 Aya community association meetings to share our work and invite feedback. We spoke with men in the Halava Correctional Facility twice. Very recently, we joined an evening class hosted by TriThink and worked with 15 men to collage and communicate their vision for a space for healing and rehabilitation. Both times, the men emphasized the importance of family and culture, food, and opportunities to change their lives. Finally, we hosted a series of community of practice meetings to gather feedback as we synthesized ideas and began to develop our work. They were held at our School of Architecture and State Office building. Thank you again to Kristen and Kara for attending and participating fully in those meetings.
And then all of this research and engagement informed the following key concepts. So this is a summary of key concepts related to system reform. We won't go through every bullet point, which is available on the presentation PDF that we have on our website, but we'll go ahead and start with systems reform, which is develop a statewide plan for governor's office support and community co-leads, adopting a public health perspective with robust communication and increased collaboration across justice and health systems, establishing prevention as early as possible in the school, in communities, or also taking advantage of federally subsidized healthcare opportunities to support community-based care, Strengthen diversion to ensure that our emerging pilot programs succeed. So this is going to need assessment tools, additional personnel, diversion connected housing and support, coordination and communication. For instance, this diversion infrastructure needed to bolster support for bail and sentencing reform. We also don't have a secure behavioral care facility planned, which was essential to Miami-Dade and other counties, which we are recommending as well. Supportive housing options need to be aligned. There need to be clear paths to new supportive housing models. We also suggest looking at the Office of Diversion and Reentry, like the Los Angeles County, to facilitate this coordination. Smaller group homes, which can be established quickly with less planning and construction costs. Reentry in the community is preferred, so warm hands requiring support in and out of the corrections. Other concepts include creating a reentry coalition, developing full step-down pathways for reentry substance abuse treatment, and using the current OCCC site and La Mata renovation as an opportunity to establish a restorative care village. For facility planning, key concepts would include gathering more research, establishing a new mission, vision, values, function, creating a new identity, coordinating holistic assessments, starting correctional culture change now, building community partnerships, and leveraging federal funding. There's also the need for new health policy changes to be made possible to federally reimburse health services provided inside of the corrections by community providers. Funding is also available to support certified behavioral care centers, and there should be all factored into the planning of the new facility. Other concepts include planning for different population scenarios to account for downsizing, requiring local and experience on future design teams, and continuing community engagement in the crafting of the RFP and beyond. People want accessible monthly meetings, quarterly sharing events, and an advisory group to work together with the department and consultants on this project.
So many people express that the programming of the facility is more important than the design of the facility, and that the program needs to be established first. So we've compiled a list of the programs that were recommended for a new facility, and these fall under intake, health, cultural, spiritual, family, job, education, housing, and training. And the following diagram is a simplified representation of how the new programs would go together. These are for individuals who are being held pretrial, sentenced to less than 1 year, held for probation or parole violations, or transitioning back to the community. The primary components are admin and intake, substance abuse and detox space, mental health, medical, program, and education spaces, recreation space, reception housing, pretrial housing, sentenced housing, transition housing, and facility and staff support spaces. We also compiled feedback into this journey map that offers a coordinated diversion, intake, incarceration, transition, and reentry with diversion off-ramps, intake assessment, and access to services throughout. This entire journey or process and the coordination of all of it, its parts are critical for the new facility. We also previously shared a graphic narrative that helps people to understand how this process would be experienced by an individual and by a staff member. The two experiences need to be taken into account.
And feedback was also synthesized into a design framework, design principles, and design considerations to guide our project and to guide future design decisions. We hope that these can be incorporated into the RFP. And based on feedback, the design principles that emerged focused on safety, trauma-informed, and health-focused approaches, relationships, AINA, strengths, improvement and empowerment, culture and identity, learning, and respect. These principles would act as a lens for all our design decisions, and feedback was also synthesized into design considerations.
And these are the design elements, which we'll go over. We previously shared our program adjacency considerations, which include a distributive continuum of care that supports individuals across our island. People also advocated for a community service hub, a program-centered facility, clear separation between sentence and pretrial populations, and adjacencies that would allow for decommissioning and adaptive reuse. For site design, people like the idea of a central open green space, smaller landscape areas, and smaller living units for the sentence population and transitional housing. They also suggested progression or graduated housing that allows for a step-down process, a campus approach, and enclosed courtyards for more open space access to gardening, aquaponics, loi, and nature. People also stressed the importance of investing in staff spaces to support health and well-being. Staff spaces would include a lounge, nice dining area, wellness court, walking path, training room, and a gym. We don't have this in this presentations, but we do include a short section on staff well-being, which looks at corrections as an occupational health crisis. Staff spaces could potentially look like this in the new facility. These would be spaces that would inspire staff to come to work. For the housing modules, what we have heard was a desire to include a treatment room, windows glazing, green space, recreation area, wall murals, multi-purpose room, dynamic security, varied furniture, and views to the outside. This is what a typical module could look like. We also asked workshop participants, many of them with lived experience, about living or sleeping arrangements. As you can see here, they preferred double rooms with a window, enclosed toilets, non-bunk beds, and furniture and personal storage as most desired features. We also gathered feedback on transition housing. Most people wanted transition housing located in the community, closer to families, jobs, and transportations and services. This was a shared belief across the neighborhood community, general community, and previously incarcerated men. Models for transitional housing would differ according to the urban or rural context. The key is a nurturing environment and program. And this is what a communal living environment might look like in a transitional housing facility.
Additionally, people suggested a number of design elements that could be integrated into future designs. Many of these elements could be funded through grants and implemented with community partners. They could be done in collaboration with the State Foundation for Culture and the Arts or community organizations that are co-located in the facility. We believe Hawaii's unique geographic and cultural context for corrections can attract grant funding. The visions that we develop can support future grant applications. These ideas or elements are compiled under 9 themes. So the first one looks at Malama Aina. Malama Aina elements support care for the land, such as lo'i, kalu farming, and auwai for irrigation, native planting for reforestation, and la'aulapa'au or medicinal gardens. Spiritual reconnection elements promote connection to sacred sites and to place. This might include an ahu, pohaku, or a Hawaiian star compass shown in the rendering. Keiki Kupuna elements provide comfortable space for all ages and mobility needs to help individuals maintain family relationships. Ritual and practice elements include things like meditation space, hula mound, outdoor amphitheater, space for makahiki, or spaces for worship. Making and makana elements support skills and opportunities that help individuals to give back to their community. For example, holly building space, kitchen for culinary programs, and a shop for woodworking.
Art and music elements include murals, sculpture, environmental graphics, and musical practice and performance space. These spaces would allow for the talents of the individuals to come through. Sustainability and resilience elements reduce energy, water, waste, and material use. And they also anticipate disaster events and other stressors. Learning and working elements include flex-use classrooms, workshops, technology access, and spaces to support education and job training. And restorative landscape elements include things like health paths, courtyards, indoor plants, and even murals of natural landscapes which have been proven to have health benefits for patients.
Here we bring up DCR's new motto, He Auho, a new era, because what we heard in our engagement was a desire for a completely new model in mission, vision, values, program, function, design, and in name. The design principles, consideration, and elements help to describe what many people were aspiring to. The renaming of the facility came up numerous times as an important part of supporting a new model, so we reached out to Keone Kele Kolio, a Hawaiian language expert and uncle to one of our UHCDC students, to help us with a new name. Auntie Kehaulani Lum generously agreed to work with us and connected us to a Halawa Kupuna, Ku'umealoha Gomes. And this slide is some of the historical facts in Mo'olelo that enriched the discussion around a new name and informed our project as a whole. Keone is a much better person to present on the work that he did to develop a new inoa or name for the facility. He spoke at length in our last community of practice meeting about the history that he researched, combined with the work that we shared with him and the stories and hopes shared by Auntie Kehau and Ku'umealoha. What he arrived at is Ke'ala Ho'oponopono, a path to righteousness or unity, I Vaikahi, referring to an ancient Waikahi heiau that once occupied the site. Keone and the kupuna talked about the need to transform the site from a space of human sacrifice to one of healing, which likewise reflects the process of transforming a person. The name also recognizes the convergence of two streams, Kamana Nui in the north and Kamana Aiki in the south, which converge just south of the site. Of course, this name is not intended to be superficial. It intends to represent a true new beginning for the department and for the new facility.
And this new name would be attached to a new mission. So the mission that was developed through the community practice meetings reads, to support community equity, health, safety, and well-being by providing individuals in custody with rehabilitation focus and culturally competent assessments, programs, environments, relationships, and personnel that address core needs and prevent future harm. The values for the new facility would include aloha, pilina, respect, dignity, pono, restorative justice, redemption, ho'oponopono, hana, malama'aina, pu'uhonua, kipuka, ohana, ho'okipa, kuleana, and well-being.
The report will also include our 3 proof-of-concept design approaches that represent alternatives and aspirations. They are not technical or resolved designs and should be understood only as ideas for further consideration. And the first proof-of-concept design takes a step-up campus approach, with a series of buildings that individuals progress through. Individuals move towards the transition center at the other end before exiting the facility and returning to society. The Navy setback on the property is maintained as a large open area for Aina-based activities. The housing modules have views to this green area and to the trees beyond. And this front view imagines a building facade developed in partnership with a local artist. This rendering superimposes a respected tattoo artist's imagery onto the building facade as one potential example. Perhaps 1% of the construction costs dedicated to art could be used for this artist's collaboration and facade.
The second proof of concept design takes a community resilience center approach. The building is designed to be compact and resource efficient. There will be a central courtyard and education center at the core of the building. And this approach also has a large open area with an outdoor amphitheater and star compass at the center. PVs would generate energy and shade the building and roof deck. The PVs would also direct water to bioswales around the building. Food waste and other programs would help to minimize the impact of the facility on the environment and create learning opportunities for adults in custody, for example, PV repair and installation, green infrastructure installation, and aquaponics or hydroponics.
The Community Justice Hub approach proposes a hub of series for the community and for those in custody. The outer hub includes a courtroom, entry, visitation area, and re-entry services, which would include case management, health, housing, family, and job support. The inner hub would provide education and health services for men in custody, and the housing modules would resemble urban housing. The entry is designed to be welcoming and unimposing with landscape, covered walkways, and entries and smaller scale buildings.
Okay, I think that's the end of the presentation. So we have a lot of thank yous, and I'm sure I won't get to everybody that we need to kind of recognize and appreciate. But if I can make an attempt, we want to thank again the Correctional Oversight Commission. There are some people on this call: Kat Brady, Mike Wilson, the Correctional Reform Working Group, especially Bob Merce, Makana Okeakua, Waikiki Health, Habilitat, Hahoko, Care Hawaii, Trithink, Touch a Heart, Keolamamo, Kokua Kalihi Valley, Queens Care Coalition, the Prison Reform Hui, NYWCA. And, before we open up for questions, I also want to thank our fantastic UHCDC team made up of our staff and our students who have really stepped up to the potential of this project. So thank you. We're open for questions.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions before we move to the next agenda?
That was a very thorough presentation, and I know that on your website, this stuff is available, but thank you very, very much. It was very, very complete.
I also want to thank you and all of those who participated in this project. It's wonderful.
Great, thank you.
Kathy, thank you so much. We know that people learn in many ways, experiential, cultural, memory, color, and it's rich, it's robust. I don't know any other adjectives. I ran out. Okay, so we move along, commissioners?
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you, team. Overview of the monthly oversight coordinator report. Guess who on my left?
That's me. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Kristen Johnson. I'm the Oversight Coordinator. This month, we have a few different things to cover. So first of all, unfortunately, there was a death in custody on Monday, October 21, 2024. A person in custody, male, 37 years old, was found unresponsive in his cell with a sheet around his neck at the Saguaro Correctional Center. Staff immediately cut the sheet from the individual, called 911, and performed CPR until EMS arrived. But unfortunately, at approximately 8:14 p.m., the individual was pronounced deceased by a medical doctor. This incident does appear to be a suicide. I had already covered our budget request, but you can see it in the report, more details, and also the new position postings. We would like to congratulate Judge Town as his reappointment to the commission. We're thrilled to have him for another 4-year term, right? 4 years?
Yep.
All right.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Yeah. Additionally, Chair Patterson and I had attended an annual commencement celebration at Halava. It was very exciting. We got to see 15 graduates all get their diploma. And so we'd like to congratulate all of those graduates. And we really appreciate the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation for really trying to beef up the education programs at Halava. I know there's a college graduation coming in May if any of the commissioners would like to join. It's really special to be there. In addition, there was an OCCC tour with the First Circuit's post-booking jail diversion group. This has been a group that our own Kara Kampani and also Commissioner Ronnie Barra have been a part on to really focus on diversion efforts. And so I'm thrilled that they had the opportunity to see OCCC, to see the real need for diversion. There was also a Makahiki celebration, which Director Johnson had talked about earlier. Chair Patterson and I both attended that. And directly after the Makahiki, Chair Patterson and I had attended the Jail and Prison Innovation Lab Conference on Deaths in Custody. It was a wildly depressing conference, but also we took a lot from it, particularly ways to prevent deaths in custody. And interestingly enough, a lot of what UHCDC had covered are actual ways to prevent deaths in custody. It prevents suicides, it increases mental health, and so that really stuck out to me during that presentation. Lastly, I'd like to cover just a few current projects that are going on. We have completed the corrections staff survey and report. We did submit that to the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. We will be sending it to the warden shortly for any type of feedback or comments, concerns, in addition to the unions. This report is a beast and it will be presented in January, I believe a week before legislative session opens. So we're excited to get that out. The House Concurrent Resolution 23 Task Force report. Currently, we are waiting on the Council of State Government section. We have had the report completed for some time now, but the Council of State Governments has a whole editing process they have to go through. And so as soon as we have their section, that report will be posted. And then we have the reentry report, which our own Kara Kampani has been working so diligently on. Very, very excited for that report. It is long and thorough, but very impactful. I think it's going to create a specific roadmap for the department to potentially use to really increase reentry efforts and make things significantly better for those trying to exit the facilities. Lastly, we just have the expenses for the preceding month. And our next commission meeting, I do just want to mention, I think that it will be virtual. It will be December, just before Christmas. And so I just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that.
What is the report to?
Which one?
Kara's one, the reentry one. November 24?
It's been pushed back a little bit, so we were hoping to present in November, then we were hoping to present in December. We're trying to finalize it now. So either December or potentially January, but it's our goal that Kara will, regardless of anything, be able to present it herself because she did work day and night on this. It's really incredible work.
Thank you, Kara,
Yeah,
and Kristen, and staff.
yeah. So hopefully that'll come out soon, but we'll keep you all posted on that.
Any questions on the coordinator report? Commissioners? It's available online. It's well-written, it's thorough, it even has colors, no music. And I commend it to anyone who's watching. If you can print it out, I print it out even on my home computer. So thank you. Quick overview of the Kulani Correctional Facility tour and report. And people have never been to Kulani. You drive about an hour up the hill and you see nanny geese, wild pigs. I don't know about goats. Hopefully no one else other than possibly us. And I think Kulani is an amazing facility, and they had chefs that had either retired or volunteered to feed a lot of people up there. I was very impressed with the years that I was going up there. I was going up there off and on for 8 or 9 years. All right, Kristen.
Yeah, I agree. I really like Kulani Correctional Facility. It's a pretty rehabilitative space. The facility reports, as of a few months ago, we kind of adjusted how we're doing them. And so this report is short, straight to the point, and it's really, really focused on the previous recommendations that the commission put out to make sure that, frankly, we're keeping up on them. The recommendation number 1 for 2023 was to begin offering in-person visitation and expand access to phone calls. Pleased to report that the department did do this. They have their visiting hours extended for weekends and holidays specifically. And the department is currently working on updating their website so that all facilities have the most accurate information for visits.
Sorry.
Can we dance?
I got a bunch of kids and they like to talk to me.
I actually want to cover the third recommendation before I jump into the second, because the second and the fourth are pretty related. So I want to kind of cover those together. The third recommendation was to remove the monetary eligibility requirement for furlough participation at all furlough sites. The commission is pleased to report that did happen. And Department Director Tommy Johnson actually reconfirmed with all of the different furlough sites this week just to triple check that it's still happening. And so we're very pleased about that. So for recommendation 2 and 4, both of those are really focusing on increasing the population at Kulani and then also improving system-wide movement throughout the correctional system. The commission has reported on this consistently since it began in 2020, that the lowest restrictive facilities, so the minimum facilities, Kulani and Leioapapa, have consistently had empty beds. And furlough sites, which is where people are coming out of prison, they shift to the furlough site in order to exit the facilities, get back in the community, also have very, very low capacity. And so many, many empty beds. So unfortunately,
Kristen, it isn't always low capacity, it's low population.
I'm sorry.
Beds are not being utilized.
I'm sorry, thank you, Marsha. Yeah, yeah. So unfortunately, the department has not increased the population at Kulani. And in fact, the population at Kulani and Leioapapa are worse in 2024 than they were in 2023. And so we do have 2 different charts that kind of highlight the rosters from 2023 to 2024. But it was disappointing to see, truly. It was disappointing to see that a lot of time has gone by. It feels like there's a lot of opportunity to increase those bed spaces. The individuals in those beds, and it hasn't happened. In addition to that, the one thing I want to highlight in both of these charts, which I do want to give a shout out to Kamehameha who created, you'll notice that in Arizona and Jalapa, which are included in both charts, there are individuals in minimum custody in both of those facilities. And so potentially these are individuals who could be placed at Leioapapa or Kulani. And so again, it's not just a matter of people being in a medium or close or maximum classification, my apologies. It's really that for whatever people aren't shifting through the system. So recommendation 4 for improving system-wide movement through the correctional system, you'll see the same thing here. Now, this chart is really focused on furlough, but we're seeing the same thing. The numbers are worse now than they were in 2023, and not significantly worse, but I bring it up because the commission has been really, really intentional at consistently bringing up this concern and consistently bringing up this point that people are not shifting through the system as they should be. And when you have a department with a 30+%, correct me if I'm wrong, Kara, max out rate, that's wildly concerning. So I really wanted to kind of harp on those 2 recommendations. I'm disappointed to report that we are going to Leioapapa today, which again is another minimum facility, very rehabilitative. I anticipate these numbers will not change significantly as this was reported as of this month. So we will probably be talking about the similar topic next month. Last recommendation, very briefly, was just to reinstate the transportation shuttle for staff. As Commissioner Town has stated, it is an hour drive from Hilo. And staff, there used to be a transportation shuttle for staff. Staff have continuously said they really miss that. They want it back to help their own cars. And also it's a way to build camaraderie too, you know, to ride up with all of your colleagues. So last year the recommendation was to reinstate that. That has not been completed. But other than that, that is the report. I do anticipate that many of these same topic areas that we're talking about today, as far as individuals not being in these low custody beds, will also be talked about significantly in the reentry report. And so this issue is not going away by any means. But that's what our findings are.
Christian, you very quickly talked about the max out rate. Do we know how many people, what percentage of the population is maxing out each year?
Tara, would you?
I'm talking about prison population only,
Yeah.
not jail population.
Tara, would you be able to mention that?
I will. So we looked at the numbers for fiscal year 2023, and this will all be included in the reentry report, but the max out population is over 50%. So in terms of people, there isn't enough stepping down going on, and there isn't enough people being granted parole. So over 50% is that rate for fiscal year 2023, Martha.
50% of our prison inmates are being released because they've maxed out, as opposed to any going through furlough or anything?
So that includes, yes. So the answer is yes.
50%.
The max out rate, it was very high, is very high.
They have served their whole sentence within correctional facilities, their entire sentence.
Correct. And that's without, yes, that does not include parole numbers in the max out rate.
Wow. I'm shocked.
It's way higher than I thought it was. I thought it was 30. Thank you for correcting me on that, Kara. That's insane.
Yeah, I just looked at it in the report yesterday. So those are the numbers that we received from DCR in terms of those numbers.
Kara, just an image. When I was on the parole board, I would park there at Halava, and there'd be somebody under the plumeria tree with a black bag with slippers, white t-shirt. Obviously, there's somebody who maxed out, and I'd talk to them. Kind of my own little way of doing an exit interview. It's usually men, I guess women over women's, but they want a job. They want someone to greet them, to drive them from Halava to a home that's safe. And it breaks my heart to hear that 50%. What is the national average? Do you know?
It's not
I don't.
50%.
I don't know the national average.
Lower?
Yeah, significant. There's no.
Kristen says it's way lower, and so
I worked for the department for 37 years. I never heard this high a number of people
well,
maxing out.
let's
Never.
explore that. I want to be not gentle, but clear today. Thank you, Kara. Commissioners,
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, can we move along? And if you need a a break, George will give you the key. Public comment on issues not on the agenda for consideration for commission's today you may want to say something. We'll agendize it. I did have somebody that I met at one of the Civil Beat meetings. Leslie weighed in and did a chat. I see Kat, I see Bob, and that's all I could see. Go ahead, Bob, you want to go? Is that all right,
Yes.
Kat?
Yes, thank you, Mike and members of the commission. I think today really is in some respects a historic point in that the state has officially been presented with the outlines of what a new jail should be, presented by the Community Design Center, a local organization grounded in local people. They relied on the studies that have been done in the past that have been ignored. They have hit all of the important points of jail planning. And we finally have something now today that we should have had back in 2017 when we really started to talk seriously about a new jail. This today and Kathy's report should be the beginning of a new era to try and come up and show the community that we can produce a jail that will last for the next 50 years and will really help people because it will have a health model and it will be based on designed and thought through by local people for local people. If you look at where the master plan that has been produced by the Department of Public Safety, they haven't updated anything in terms of what their thinking is on the new jail since 2019. But when you look at that, it's all consultants from the mainland. It's the Lewis Berger Group. It's the Pulitzer Bogart Group. It's mainland companies that have come up with this terrible design for a new jail. We don't have to do that and go that route now. Kathy and her team has presented an entirely different approach that is absolutely what best practices requires. It's a fabulous report. It couldn't be any better. I don't care where you go. You couldn't find a better, more thoughtful, more thorough report. And it represents the input from all kinds of people in our community over a 2-year period. So to ignore this, what she has come up with, it would be a betrayal of our university, because this was not just Kathy. It was the Peace Center, the Matsunaga Peace Institute. It was the law school. It was the School of Social Work, the School of Public Health, the School of Hawaiian Knowledge. The entire university collaborated on this report. It represents us, the people. And this is what we want in a new facility and what I think we must demand in a new facility. We cannot let this report go the way of so many other, like the HCR 85 reports, just filed on someone's shelf. This has to be the beginning of a new look at this jail. The community has spoken as to what they want, and that's what Kathy is presenting and representing to us. And we need to move forward with that. The community needs to be part of developing the RFP. That should not be the work of the Department of Public Safety, DAGS, and its consultants. It should be the people who are stakeholders in the new jail. That's what you said back as a commission in 2020. Let's make it a reality. This is a great report. It points to a great future. Let's seize on this report and do the right thing. Let's get it right. Thank you.
Bob, so I understand you want this agendized at every commission meeting and ongoing for staff as we get more staff, do more of that. And also, if you read Hawaii News Now report with Jen Boniza today, the OCCC is right in the front of the whole drama. So I commend both this report and today's news.
Yeah, and I saw that report on KHON, and let me just say one thing about it. We should not use the fact that the conditions are deplorable at OCCC to rush through it and build something that we don't need. I understand the conditions are bad out there. They've been bad for a long time, but that's not an excuse for, saying, oh, let's just throw caution to the wind and build any kind of a facility, because it's going to last 50 years and it's going to affect tens of thousands of people and our public health and our public safety system. So, let's just, it's time to get it right. Kathy has presented a road, not exactly a roadmap, but some conceptual models that we need to seize on that and build a jail that will really serve the interests of the people of this state. And she's shown us how to do that.
Thank you.
I would like
Go
to
ahead.
say something. I would like to propose that we as a commission write a very strongly worded letter in support of the UH Design Center. Not only bring it up, it needs to be strong that this is our position. It's my understanding, Bob, that the initial contract was created by Max Otani, not the current administration. So I have no idea of the current administration's commitment to this. So I want us to take a stand, and a strong stand, in support of this report with the governor and the legislature. Send it to them also.
Do we need a motion?
Absolutely.
This is the group,
So, Chris, you think we need a motion for that?
or a sense of the group?
All right, I move that we draft a letter to the governor and legislators concerning our very strong support of the University of Hawaii Community Design Center's report on creating the new OCCC.
Second.
Thank you, Martha.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, passed.
Do you want this for December or January? I just don't want it to get lost with the
Sooner
holiday.
than better.
January.
Yeah.
It's gonna be that.
The
The last
budget
will
hearings
start-
will probably start.
that point.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that's right before the legislature. You want that
Right
right in
before.
front.
Yeah.
Wait till Christmas, people forget about
Is
that.
And the budget hearings most likely will start the first week in January, so that's a good time to be getting this in.
Yeah.
The ledge starts the third Wednesday of January.
Kat,
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
good idea. Go ahead, Kat.
Aloha, commissioners. I'm heartbroken about the suicides that have happened, and several have been people who are in solitary confinement. And I want to define solitary confinement is not just a single person in a cell. It's administrative, disciplinary segregation. It's all that. And that is all encompassed in solitary confinement. And the thing that is so heartbreaking to me is that we put people in solitary or in some form of segregation with absolutely nothing. No books, no classes, no anything. What do we think is going to happen when somebody is feeling bitter and angry and we lock them in a cell and basically isolate them from the rest of the facility? So I really hope, and I'm pleading with the commission to take a look at solitary, to follow how many people are in solitary and for how long. Because one of the things Hawaii is notorious for is we send people to admin segregation. 30 days are up. Oops, now you're in disciplinary. And it goes on and on. I know people who have been in that situation for years. That is not helpful. And how do they come back to the general population after they've been so isolated? So we need to have programs. We need to have educational things. I have been contacted by many, many people who are out now who have spent a long time in solitary. And the one thing they say is, please don't lock us in a room with nothing. Give us education, books. We need that. And obviously, if people are incarcerated, they have a problem interacting. One of the basic concepts of Hawaii is pilina. It's connection. We're social beings. We're human. And we never can forget that. So I'm pleading with the commission to please start tracking solitary for how many individuals, how long they're in there, just so, and publish that, because that is one of the most harmful things. And the UN has said solitary confinement should never be more than 15 days. And it's a form of torture. Please don't have torture incorporated in our system. Thank you so much.
Kat, in the 1840s, Charles Dickens visited the United States, and he went to the Pennsylvania prison where they had the segregation of everyone. And he wrote an article in the paper about the harm of solitary confinement, and Pennsylvania did end it afterwards. So this is not new. That's 180 years ago that he was writing about it and how detrimental it is. And we'll see if we can get this data. And again, one of the things, as you mentioned, we have to include people who are shifted from one form of solitary to another.
Yes.
That there may be one day in between, but we have to be tracking those also.
I think it's a good idea. My question is, are we able to get access to that data?
Yeah, so I know, I was trying to figure out how to best do this too. So I can get access to the entire roster of everybody who's in custody every day. I can get that on a daily basis. The challenge as far as tracking somebody, I'm wondering if it could be a better, maybe not better, but I'm wondering if it could kind of paint the picture if we followed, say 40 people for a year, straight year. Just to see how they get bounced around. Because one of the concerns that I have that, Kat and I have talked about a fair amount is that you have, which the commission is also reporting on, you have programs like the SHIP program at Saguaro that the department doesn't consider solitary, but it's solitary.
Yes.
Like 23-hour lockdown is solitary, 22-hour lockdown is solitary. And that's the entire SHIP program. So I think there's opportunity, to do a segregation project. I don't know exactly what that could look like, and maybe we can talk about that more. But
Well, the department must keep this data, right?
No.
You're saying they don't?
no, there's no. So what we would have to do is we would have to know which housing units are considered solitary, or I'm just going to use restrictive housing. And then we would have to track how many individuals are, and so one thing that would be relatively easy to do is if we posted how many individuals are in each of these housing units every maybe month, we could do that. Like that, I feel confident we could do. As far as what Kat's talking about, following individuals to see how they bump them in and out of solitary like that, I think that would have to be a project where we choose a random sample of those in solitary right now and then follow them for maybe not a year, maybe 6, whatever it may be, just to see how they're.
You want to think about how to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Kat, is that okay? We try to figure out a way.
And there should be a bill. A bill is being drafted now on solitary. I've been working on this for about 10 years. This is my 5th or 6th try. So I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
And we will be supporting that effort.
Yeah, the commission definitely supports. I will say last year, one thing that was interesting was that there was a section in that bill. I imagine it'll still be in there, Kat, about the commission overseeing restrictive housing.
Yes.
Yes. There's a section added last year. It was kind of neat. To me, it showed that the House really trusts us. But it was a section added about how they want the Oversight Commission specifically to oversee solitary confinement, and the definition of solitary confinement is way beyond the 23-hour lockdown. So it's a really good bill. It's really good.
Yeah. Have we ever tried to ask for this information specifically?
If they track.
No, and we try to
Yeah.
ask the department to give us this information.
We want this specific type of information.
Well, so respectfully with the department, there are different opinions of what solitary confinement is considered. The commission, the department does not consider SHIP as even restrictive housing. They consider SHIP a program house. that. So
And the
I'm
one
happy
state,
to, I
right?
can, I just out of respect, like, and I say this as respectfully as possible, like, I don't think that those numbers are gonna align with what's actually happening. And so I think that I would trust the roster that we receive instead, where I can, like, if I know which housing units are restrictive like that, then I can just pull the numbers easily.
You know, I would think the legislator, have you ever asked them? And, maybe not in terms of, calling it solitary confinement, but define, have you ever put someone, whatever you wanna define as solitary confinement, but without saying it, solitary confinement?
Yeah,
Because they're gonna disagree.
I can ask, what am I pulling from them? Like, should I ask, like, in the past year, how many people in the place, or what are you picturing in that inquiry?
Well, what we starting from now, or starting?
Oh, like in the past year, like I can ask them in 2023. Oh, okay, okay.
Last year and then,
Yeah.
see what they respond. I mean, it's more of an understanding of what exactly are they doing? And then we can figure out from there how to approach the real issues.
Okay.
Call it isolation. That's what it is. You're isolating people.
Yeah, I'll describe the time frame that I'm looking for, because we've gone down this road before. And yes, I will do that.
Forgive me, I was out, but briefly, but admin seg is different than isolation or solitary, right?
No, it's not.
Well,
It's solitary.
not.
Admin sec is
All
solitary.
one thing.
Some of the prisoners want admin seg, they want to be separate.
No, that's
No.
different.
So
Thank you.
one of the problems, like, that we were kind of just discussing is that there are many different variations
Yes.
of solitary confinement, but the department doesn't consider those many different variations of solitary confinement. And so that's where respectfully, the commission is in disagreement with the department, because the impact is the same.
Do we have a national best
Calling it by
practice?
3 different names. but it's
The
same
national
thing.
best practice is to not have restrictive housing, but
So national best practice is no restricted housing.
not no,
And
but very limited.
Limited,
yeah,
and,
limited.
and
Yes.
Very limited.
evidence-based practice backs that up.
Yeah,
So we need to look at that. Does that come up at NACOL?
yeah.
Yeah, I would want to know what NACOL says. Big deal. Okay, Kat, as always. Thank you. Yep, anything more? I did have Carrie Shirota sent me what I call her wonderful Barracuda emails about water in the facilities. And, Carrie Ann, are you on today? She's concerned about the water, quality of the water, the quantity of the water. There, I see you.
Yes,
Forgive
aloha.
me.
Hello,
Aloha.
Commissioners, Coordinator Carrie Ann Schwartz on behalf of the ACL of Hawaii. And I'm just curious, I don't see it on the agenda, but hopefully it can be set on the agenda for the next meeting. As you may be aware, our legal attorney, Wookie Kim, sent a letter to the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, as well as Core Civic. And the allegations is that we've received multiple credible reports of contaminated, unsafe drinking water at Saguaro Prison. This has been an ongoing issue. In light of this, we submitted a demand letter and we asked for a response due last week, Friday. As of today, we received at least a preliminary response to this demand letter from Core Civic, but we still have not heard from the Department of Corrections. They confirmed receipt a few weeks ago, but have not responded. And I just want to highlight what are our requests in this demand letter. To investigate the water problem, include engaging in an independent water quality expert to test the water sources at Saguaro. 2, that they immediately implement stopgap measures. And 3, explain why the price of bottled water at commissary has been nearly 3 times what it would cost outside of Saguaro. And our legal director is not able to participate today in this Oversight Commission meeting, but likely could be available pending his schedule next month. But we wanted to present this to you because, as you know, water is critically important to the health and well-being of people. We know that what is happening in our community, there's been federal congressional involvement in Red Hill and the poisoning of our waters. And at the same time, there are similar types of complaints that are coming in from people at Saguaro, and we believe that the department should be held accountable. And the fact that it was not even mentioned to the commission is just very concerning to us. So that was the first thing I'd like to report. And for the second meeting, we could add on this issue of a master report. The last master report for planning was conducted in 2003, over 20 years ago. And the fact that there's still this pushing forward of this new jail to replace Old CCC, that report is clearly outdated. And we keep hearing the data that there are people out of state who could come home. Waiava, Kulani, there are work furlough beds that people could be in to get into the community. I'm happy to hear that there is more of a highlight concerted effort on diversion, but our diversion program in the First Circuit, the number is very, very low, extremely. And this was data that was presented by the Department of Health director this past legislative session. And so while there is this sort of track mind that we need to build the new jail, we need to look at the diversion up front. And we know that we can get more people home and we can get more people into the community if we invest in community-based treatment, health, housing, and reintegration programs. And even if hypothetically this jail were to be built, it would not be until 2029, 2030. But what happens in the meantime? What about the families who are getting calls from their loved ones? What about the reports of people who have been dying? Some of whom are kupuna who could be out in the community, or suicides. These issues are not being addressed for the next so many years. And looking at the public-private partnership is another concern because we know at the end of the day, there are entities that want to bid on this new prison that have a dismal track record. Department of Justice is investigating a private prison in Tennessee, and we hope that that also will be the case in Saguaro. There's a dismal track record, and we need to address that. The bottom line is this is the safety and health of our community. And to hear the department not even mention or acknowledge the fact that people are dying, this ongoing issue is just completely troubling. And when you are doing your job and asking very pointed, legitimate questions and asking for follow-up on things that you have recommended over a year ago, it's deeply troubling. And to call that as berating, to use a lay term, that's gaslighting. And that needs to stop because there needs to be transparency and accountability, and our families and our communities deserve it. So we support the commission. We will continue to support your work. And we just have to call out some of the things that are said in these meetings. It's, again, the essence of oversight means to ask pointed questions, to demand accountability. Thank you for this time, and I hope that the Saguaro issue would be placed on the agenda for the next meeting. Thank you.
Two things, Carrie Ann. One is you want this agenda as the water in all of the facilities, but certainly Saguaro. I think all of it. I need to know about all the water, but certainly Saguaro. And let's keep that on the agenda. That's something for next time. And I see the kids running around with these T-shirts that I wish I had one. Kawai Ola. What does that mean to you?
The waters of life.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that is, the public knows this. They wear it proudly on T-shirts. They talk about it. Red Hill was there in the.
It's on the water fountain in front of the Board of Water Supply.
And then in the Kaho'olawe litigation, that was front and center and still should be. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I see another smiling face. Leslie, you there?
Sorry, had to take my mic off mute. Sorry, and I was rushing to find a parking space so I could actually speak to you guys. Thank you, Commission, for holding this meeting and making it open to the public. I wanted to comment on a couple things, and I'm new to this type of work and participation, so bear with me if I say anything too naive. But I'm
2 minutes. Can you do 2 minutes?
Yes. Basically, I wanted to see if there was a chance for advocates, just like CASA does for foster kids, to advocate for prisoners that should be stepping down, because it sounds like we have a problem of too many people maxing out, that they're put in situations where they're not able to move on to the next step and lessen their chance for recidivism. So I was interested in what types of programs that you have for advocacy for these incarcerated people, and whether or not, while we're waiting for this jail to be built, if our focus should be on reducing that 50% number by trying to get people into these other programs, and what kind of community help for just the phone calls and the paper pushing and all of that needs to go on in order for people to feel the pressure to have people moved. I think that's about it. I know that might be naive, but I wanted to just put that out there.
If possible, we'll try to write it down ourselves. If you reduce it to writing, send it to the chair or to Kristen, we will and do follow up. And I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Divine coincidence to see you at that civil beat, and I'm glad you're here today. It looks like you're in a car.
I am. Yeah, I just got off the freeway. I'm going to a different type of meeting in town. So yes.
Any questions from the commission?
Leslie, if I can tell you briefly too, a lot of the issues that you just brought up are going to be in the reentry report that's coming out. And so when you're asking ways that you can help, I think really if you are involved with politics or the legislature at all, I think just continuously bringing attention to what will be in that report and that things need to change. There's going to be a lot of recommendations in that report as well. And so we're not just putting issues out there and saying, good luck, and I think there's opportunity to really put pressure on that for the department and for the legislature to fund the different things like case managers as an example. That's a prime example of how reentry can be helped. So thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kara, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to briefly add to what Kristen shared, and that I think we all know that there is issues throughout the system in terms of movement downward. It's very easy to move upward, but movement downward. And we have a lot of data in this reentry report about how people are getting stuck at each kind of level of the system and why this movement downward isn't happening. And this is, of course, highlighted by the max out rates, but that's not the only issue. So I want to just share that this information and data supporting it will be in the reentry report, along with, I think, 6 or 7 recommendations specific to how we can get people moving downward and better prepare them for reintegration, because we know that max out populations have the highest recidivism rate. And we know that people spending too much time in Arizona without completing programs, without stepping down back here in Hawaii, that is, again, really problematic for reentry and reintegration. So I just want to share that that is a huge portion of this report and something that we've really been focusing on in the office, as we've seen throughout different facilities, and thinking about solutions. How can we improve this? And all of that will be forthcoming. So here's your teaser. Just get excited. It's coming, and it'll be here soon. So thank you all. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to share that.
Kara, a follow-up question, please.
Sure. Yep.
Do any of the systems on the max out, the max out is I don't think is a success, it's a failure. Do they ever do, in the military, we call that the after action report, do they do an exit interview and write a thorough, where could we have helped this in? Where could, along the way, as they moved up, could we have kept them?
Easy answer, no.
Commissioner, tell me, I'm asking Kara right now, because I think it's not a success when someone maxes out. I spent how much time under that plumeria tree with these guys in their slippers, white t-shirts, their black bags, and they are salty, and they should be salty because they maxed out.
Yeah, Commissioner Town, I have not seen any kind of like after action report reviewing what happened or what we could have, what could be improved next time. I'm not aware of that existing anywhere.
All the time. Martha knows more than me.
No, not in corrections. I've never seen an exit interview done in corrections.
Yeah.
Should be done. Anyway, that's my suggestion, another harebrained suggestion. All right, anything from the commissioners? Go, Kat, you got your hand.
You're muted.
Use the yellow hand.
Just one thing that's about maxing out. Many people who have maxed out have actually been to the parole board like 8 times and been denied. And finally, they just go, okay, I'll just serve all my time.
And part of the reason they get denied is they're told by the parole board to do certain programs and they don't have access to those programs.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. And any other hands from the community? This is a key part. No more public comments.
Okay.
And
thank you all so much.
Wow. Says monthly commission. We've got, what have we decided for December?
That we're gonna meet only by Zoom.
Virtually, December 5th. Is that right?
Yeah.
No, December 19th.
No, December 5th is the tour,
Yeah.
George?
That was a rescheduled
Along with what?
December 5th will be the Hawaii HCF.
Yeah,
And
so
then
that's a limited meeting. We're not gonna be having. a
December
meeting
19th, we're gonna meet here by virtually.
What time is the December 5th?
Usually it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's official.
Yep, so 9 o'clock.
I hope you don't see anybody under the plumeria trees when you go up there. Anyway, commissioners, anything more before we adjourn? Subject to call? Do I hear a motion? Do I need a motion or just?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passed. Thank you, one and all. The time, what's the time here today? 10:49. Imua.
Aloha.
Thank you, Carrie Ann. Kat. Kara, good to see you. Where are you, Kara? East Coast?
I'm in Fiji.
Oh.
My husband, I know you all feel bad for me now. My husband is presenting to some Pacific Island nations here, so I got to come along for the ride. Yeah. So
That'll blow your
so
mind.
enjoy Waiava, and I'll be thinking of you all from here.